Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge of the UES Titan, looking out at the endless stars through the big window. The ship had been traveling through deep space for 3 months now, exploring new worlds and looking for signs of life. So far, they had found nothing but empty planets and dead rocks floating in the darkness. The Titan was the best ship Earth had ever built. It was huge, with thick metal walls and the most powerful engines humanity could make. Inside, too, 100 of Earth's best people worked together. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, and explorers all shared the same dream of finding something amazing among the stars. Jake was drinking his morning coffee when the communication system started making loud beeping sounds. The noise was so sudden. It's strange that everyone on the bridge stopped what they were doing and looked around. "Captain, we're getting a signal," said Sam Rodriguez, the young man who handled all the ship's communications. His hands moved quickly over his control panel, trying to make sense of what was coming through. "This is really weird, sir. The signal is coming from the Kepler 442 system, but that's over 40 light-years away." Jake put down his coffee cup and walked over to Sam's station. "Are you sure about the distance?" "Yes, sir, but here's the strange part. The message is in English. Not perfect English, but someone or something is trying to talk to us in our language." Dr. Lisa Grant, the ship's expert on alien life, came running onto the bridge. She was a small woman with bright eyes who got excited about everything related to space and aliens. "Did I hear right? We have a message from another star system. That's what it looks like," Jake said. "Sam, can you play it for us?" Sam pressed a button, and the bridge filled with a sound unlike anything they had ever heard. It was like a voice, but not quite human. The words came slowly, with long pauses between them, as if the speaker was having trouble making the sounds. "People of Earth, we are Valari. We need help. Please help us. We're dying." The bridge went completely quiet. Everyone stared at the speakers, not believing what they had just heard. After decades of searching for alien life, first contact was happening not with a greeting but with a cry for help. "There's more," Sam said, his voice shaking a little. He played the rest of the message. "We have watched your people. Strong, you fight for others. We cannot fight. We only know peace. The Kreks come for us. They take our worlds. They kill our children. 3 worlds already gone. 4 worlds remain. Soon all will be dark." The voice became even more desperate. "We have called too many stars. No one comes. No one helps. You are our last hope. If you can hear this, please come. We will share all we know. We will give you our technology. Just please help us live." The message ended with something that sounded like crying, but not human crying. It was a sound of pure sadness that made everyone on the bridge feel sick too. Their stomachs. Jake looked around at his crew. He could see the shock on their faces. This was not how anyone had imagined first contact would happen. They had always thought they would be the ones asking questions, not the ones being asked for help. "Lisa, what do you think?" Jake asked. Dr. Grant was already working on her computer, trying to analyze the message. "The voice patterns are real, Captain. This isn't a fake or a joke. Someone really sent this message. And if they're telling the truth about watching us, they know things about Earth that they shouldn't know unless they've been studying us for a long time." "But 40 light-years away," said Sam. "Even if we left right now, it would take us months to get there. They could all be dead by then." Jake walked back to his chair and sat down hard. As captain, he had to make decisions, but this was bigger than anything he had ever faced. This wasn't just about his ship or his crew. This was about humanity's first contact with alien life, and that life was begging for help. "Sam, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them everything. Send them the recording too. Then set up a secure channel with Admiral Hayes." While Sam worked on the communications, Jake thought about what he knew. The Valari sounded peaceful, scared, and desperate. The Kreks sounded like some kind of enemy that destroyed worlds. If this was real, then somewhere out there, an entire species was about to be wiped out. An hour later, Jack was talking to Admiral Patricia. Hayes on Earth. The Admiral was a tough woman who had spent her whole life in the military. She didn't scare easily, but Jake could see worry in her eyes on the video screen. Captain Morrison, I've listened to the message 5 times now. Our best experts say it's real. The question is, what do we do about it? Ma'am, if they're telling the truth, we might be the only ones who can help them. Jake, we've never fought a war in space. We don't know anything about these Kreks or how dangerous they are. We could be flying into a trap, but Admiral, what if we're not? What if there really is a peaceful species out there that's about to be destroyed? Can we live with ourselves if we do nothing? The Admiral was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. There's something else, Jake. Our science teams have been looking at the star charts. If these Kreks are really expanding and taking over worlds, Earth could be on their list too. Maybe not now, but someday. Jake felt his blood go cold. He hadn't thought about that. If the Kreks were destroying civilizations, Earth could be next. What are your orders, Admiral? Come home, Jake. Come home fast. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. We're going to need every ship we have and every soldier we can find. 2 weeks later, Jake stood in the Pentagon on Earth, looking at the biggest meeting he had ever seen. President William Carter was there, along with generals, scientists, and leaders from every major country. The room was full of the most important people on Earth, and they were all trying to decide if humanity should fight its first war among the stars. The president looked tired, like he hadn't slept in days. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a choice to make. We can ignore this message and hope the problem goes away, or we can try to help. But if we help, we're risking everything. We're risking our ships, our people, and maybe even our planet. An old general stood up. Mr. President, we don't know anything about space combat. We could lose everything. But Dr. Grant spoke up from her seat. Sir, if we do nothing, we lose our souls. How can we call ourselves human if we turn our backs on people who are crying for help? The room erupted in arguments. Some people wanted to help, others thought it was too dangerous. Jake listened to it all, but he kept thinking about that voice in the message. The fear, the desperation, the hope that maybe someone would come. Finally, President Carter raised his hand for silence. I've made my decision. We're going to help. God help us all, but we're going to try. And that's how humanity decided to fight its first war in the stars, all because aliens cried for help and Earth chose to answer. 3 massive fleets left Earth's orbit on a cold morning in November. The UES Titan led the way, followed by hundreds of other ships filled with soldiers, weapons, and supplies. Captain Jake Morrison watched Earth grow smaller through his window as they headed toward the stars. He wondered if he would ever see his home planet again. The journey to the Kepler 442 system would take 8 months using their fastest ships. 8 months to travel farther than any human had ever gone before. 8 months to prepare for a war against an enemy they knew almost nothing about. Dr. Lisa Grant spent most of her time in the ship's medical bay, working with the Valari, who had agreed to help them. The aliens had sent 3 of their people to Earth before the fleet left. They were beautiful creatures that looked like they were made of living crystal. They were tall and thin, with skin that seemed to glow with its own light. When they spoke, their voices sounded like music. The Valari called themselves Zyron, Kella, and Voss. They were scared, but grateful that humans had come to help their people. Zyron was the oldest and seemed to be their leader. He had been alive for over 300 years, which amazed the humans. Your people are very brave, Zyron told Lisa one day as they worked together in the lab. Most species run away when they hear about the Kreks. You are the first to come toward the danger. Lisa looked up from her computer where she was studying Kreks biology. We couldn't just leave you to die. That's not who we are. But you could all die because of us, Kella said sadly. She was younger than Zyron, but still over 100 years old. The Kreks are very strong. They have destroyed so many worlds. Tell me more about them, Lisa said. The more we know, the better we can fight them. Voss, the youngest Valari, pulled up images on the screen. The pictures showed creatures that looked like giant insects. They stood on 2 legs but had 4 arms. Their skin was black and shiny like armor. Sharp claws came from their hands, and their faces had no eyes, just sensors that could see in all directions. They are about 8 feet tall, Voss explained. Their skin is harder than your strongest metals. They don't use machines like you do. Instead, they grow their ships and weapons from living things. Living ships? Lisa asked, fascinated and horrified at the same time. Yes, their ships are alive. They can heal themselves when damaged. They can grow new weapons. And they all think together like one big mind. This worried Lisa more than anything else. You mean they're all connected? The Queen controls them all, Zirin said. Every Krex soldier, every Krex ship, they all do what the Queen tells them to do. They never get confused. They never disagree. They work together perfectly. Lisa shared this information with Commander Alex Turner, the man in charge of all the human soldiers. Alex was a big man with scars on his face from old battles. He had fought in wars on Earth, but nothing like this. So we're fighting an enemy that thinks is one big mind, Alex said as he studied the Krex pictures. That's going to make this very hard. What do you mean? Lisa asked. On Earth, when we fight, we can confuse the enemy. Can make them think we're going to attack one place, then attack somewhere else. But if they all think together, they'll see through our tricks. Chief Engineer Ben Parker was working day and night to change the human weapons. The Valari had told them that normal bullets and missiles would not work against Krex armor. Ben was trying to build new weapons that could hurt them. To need something that can punch through that armor, Ben told Jake during one of their meetings. The Valari say their people use energy weapons, but we've never built anything like that before. Rachel Stone, the ship's intelligence officer, was gathering all the information she could about the Krex. She'd been a spy on Earth before joining the space program. She knew how to find secrets and how to use them. Captain, I think I found something important, Rachel said one evening. The Valari have been watching the Krex for a long time. They say the Krex always attack the same way. They surround a planet, then slowly destroy it piece by piece. That might help us, Jake said. If they always do the same thing, maybe we can be ready for it. But Captain, there's something else.
Yes.
The Krex have been expanding for hundreds of years. They've destroyed over 50 different species. We're not just fighting for the Valar, we're fighting for everyone. As the months passed, the human crew got to know the Valar better. The crystal beings were very different from humans. Had never fought a war. Had never even hurt another living thing. Their whole society was based on peace and sharing. How did you survive so long without fighting? Alex asked Cyrene one day. We hide, Cyrene answered sadly. When danger comes, we run away or hide underground. But you cannot hide from the Krex. They find everyone eventually. Why don't you fight back? We do not know how. Our hands are made for creating, not destroying. Our minds are made for peace, not war. That is why we need you. The humans began to understand that they were not just helping the Valari. They were doing something the Valari could never do for themselves. They were bringing the ability to fight back to a people who had forgotten how to defend themselves. As they got closer to the Kepler 442 system, the crew became more nervous. They were about to arrive at a world under attack. They would see the Krex for the first time. They would find out if all their preparations were enough. Captain, we're picking up signals from the system, Sam reported one morning. It's not good news. Jake came to the bridge quickly. What are you seeing? Lots of Krex ships, sir. Maybe hundreds of them. Captain, they're not just attacking the planet. They're completely surrounding it. On the main screen, they could see the Kepler 442 system? The star was bright yellow, like Earth's sun. But around the fourth planet, there was a dark cloud of ships. Even from far away, they could see the Krex fleet was enormous. My God, Jake whispered. There are so many of them. Dr. Grant was studying the readings from her instruments. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. I think the Krex are doing something to the planet itself. Zirin came onto the bridge, his crystal skin glowing brighter with worry. They are harvesting the planet's core energy. When they finish, Vethra will be a dead rock floating in space. How long do we have? Jake asked. Maybe days, maybe hours. We are too late. But Jake looked at his crew, then at the Valari. No, we came here to help, and that's what we're going to do. It might be late, but we're not too late. He turned to Sam. Send a message to the other ships. Tell them we're going in. And send a message to any Valari who can hear us. Tell them, the humans are here, and we're not giving up. As the human fleet moved toward the planet, they could see the destruction the Kreks had caused. Beautiful crystal cities were now piles of rubble. The planet's surface was covered with dark scars where the Kreks had been mining. It looked like a world that was dying, but somewhere down there Valari were still alive. Somewhere down there, people were waiting for help. The humans had come too far to turn back now. The first battle was about to begin. The first battle was a disaster. Human ships flew straight at the Kreks fleet, firing their biggest weapons. The missiles exploded against the alien ships, but did almost no damage. The Kreks bioships seemed to eat the explosions and grow stronger. Captain, our weapons aren't working, shouted Sam from his position at the communication station. The Kreks ships are barely scratched. Jake watched in horror as the enemy ships turned toward his fleet. The Kreks vessels looked like giant insects flying through space. They were black and shiny, with long tentacles that moved like arms. When they fired back, streams of green acid shot out and hit the human ships. Hull breach on Deck 7. Ben Parker yelled over the alarms. That acid is eaten through our armor like it's paper. The UES Hammer, one of their biggest ships, took a direct hit. Jake watched on his screen as the acid spread across the ship's surface, melting everything it touched. Within minutes, the Hammer was gone, along with all 800 people on board. All ships, retreat, Jake ordered. Fall back to safe distance. Human fleet pulled back, but they had lost 3 ships and over 1,000 people in just 1 hour. The Kreks didn't even follow them. They just went back to attacking the planet below, as if the humans were not worth their time. Commander Alex Turner had taken his soldiers down to the planet's surface before the space battle started. He thought they could help any Valari who were still alive. The ground fight was going just as badly as the space battle. The Kreks soldiers were even more terrifying up close. They moved faster than anything that big should be able to move. Their claws could cut through human armor, like it was made of cloth. Worst of all, they seemed to know exactly where the humans were going to attack before they did it. Know our plans, Alex? Asked Rachel Stone over the radio. He was hiding behind a piece of broken crystal wall while acid shots flew over his head. Every time we try to surprise them, they're already waiting for us. Rachel was back on the ship, trying to figure out what was happening. Commander, I think it's their hive mind. They're all connected to each other. One of them sees us. They all know where we are. Alex lost half his soldiers in the first 2 hours on the planet. The men and women who had trained for years to be the best fighters on Earth were being cut down by creatures that seemed to predict their every move. We need to get off this planet, Alex told his remaining soldiers. We can't fight an enemy that knows what we're going to do before we do it. Back on the Titan, Dr. Lisa Grant was working frantically with the 3 Valari. She was trying to understand why the human weapons didn't work and why the Kreks seemed so impossible to fight. There has to be something, Lisa said, looking at all the data they had collected. Every creature has a weakness. Every system has a flaw. Zyron looked very sad. His crystal skin was dim, not glowing like usual. I am sorry we brought you here to die with us. Should have known this would happen. Don't give up yet, Lisa said. Help me understand something. You said the Valari use energy weapons. How do they work? Kella, the younger female Valari, moved to the computer. We channel our life energy through crystals. The crystals focus the energy and make it very powerful. But we only use it to build things, never to hurt anyone. Lisa stared at the screen showing the Valari energy patterns. Something was forming in her mind, an idea that seemed crazy but might just work. What if we could use your energy as a weapon? She asked. All 3 Valari looked shocked. We cannot hurt other living things, Voss said. It is against everything we believe. But what if you're not hurting them directly? What if you're just powering human weapons? We would be the ones pulling the trigger. Lisa worked through the night, designing a way to connect Valari energy to human weapons. It was dangerous and had never been tried before. But nothing else was working. Captain Jake Morrison was in his ready room, staring at reports of their losses. They had come to help the Valari, but instead they were all going to die together. He was thinking about calling for a retreat when Lisa burst through his door. "Captain, I think I found something," she said, holding up a strange device that looked like it was made of both human technology and Valari crystal. "What is it?" "It's a hybrid weapon. It uses Valari, energy channeled through human technology. If this works, we might be able to punch through their armor." Jake looked at the device. It was their only hope, but it meant asking the peaceful Valari to help them kill. "Will they do it?" Zarin said they would try. He said, if they're going to die anyway, they might as well die fighting. An hour later, the human fleet attacked again. This time, they had something new. The Valari were on every ship connected to the weapons systems. When the humans fired, beams of pure energy shot out instead of regular missiles. The first energy beam hit a Krek ship and cut it in half. The living vessel writhed in space like a dying animal, then went dark and started to drift. "It's working," Sam shouted. "The energy weapons are cutting right through them." The first time since arriving at the system, the humans were winning. Ship after ship of the Krek's fleet was destroyed by the new hybrid weapons. The alien bioships couldn't heal fast enough to survive the energy attacks, but the victory came at a cost. Each time the Valari channeled their energy into the weapons, they grew weaker. Their crystal skin became dimmer. Some of them collapsed from exhaustion. "Can't keep this up forever," Zarin told Lisa. "Our energy is limited. If we use too much, we will die." Captain Jake realized they needed to end this fight quickly. The Kreks still had hundreds of ships, and the Valari were getting weaker with each shot. "We need to find their queen ship," he told his crew. "If we can destroy the queen, maybe the rest will stop fighting." Rachel Stone had been studying the Krek's formation. "Captain, I think I found it."
How?
"There's a massive ship at the center of their fleet. It's 10 times bigger than the others, and all the smaller ships seem to be protecting it."
Ow.
Jake looked at the huge bioship on his screen. It was the size of a small moon, covered in spikes and tentacles. Thousands of smaller ships surrounded it like a protective shell. "That's got to be it," he said. "That's where their queen lives." Commander Turner had brought his remaining soldiers back to the ships. "Captain, if we're going to attack that thing, we need to do it from the inside. Someone needs to board it and plant explosives at its core." "That's a suicide mission, Alex." "Maybe. But it's the only way to save what's left of the Valari. And if we don't stop the Kreks here, they'll eventually find Earth." Jake knew Alex was right. They'd come too far to give up now. The Valari were counting on them. Earth was counting on them. "All right," Jake said. "We're going to ram the queen ship. We'll use the Titan to break through their defenses. Then Alex and his team will board and destroy it from the inside." Everyone on the bridge knew what this meant. The Titan would be destroyed in the attack. Most of them would die. But if they could kill the queen, they might save both the Valari and humanity. As the Titan accelerated toward the massive queen ship, Jake thought about Earth. He thought about the people there who were sleeping peacefully, not knowing that their fate was being decided 40 light years away. The final battle was about to begin. The used Titan flew straight at the massive queen ship like a bullet fired from a gun. Captain Jake Morrison stood on his bridge watching the enormous biovessel grow larger and larger on his screen. The queen ship was so big it blocked out the stars behind it. "All power to front shields," Jake shouted over the alarms. "Everyone hold on." The smaller Krek ships fired everything they had at the Titan. Green acid streams and sharp bone spears hit the human ship from all sides. The shields flickered and sparked as they tried to protect the ship, but they were failing fast. "Hull breach on decks 3 through 7, Ben Parker yelled. "We're losing atmosphere." "Keep going," Jake ordered. "We have to get through." Behind them, the rest of the human fleet was fighting the other Krek ships. The hybrid energy weapons were working, cutting through bioship after bioship. But there were so many enemies that for every Krek ship they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. Dr. Lisa Grant was in the medical bay with the 3 Valari. They were all connected to the ship's weapon systems, pouring their life energy into the guns. But the effort was killing them. Zarin could barely stand, and Kella had collapsed twice already. "You need to rest," Lisa told them. "You're going to die if you keep this up. If we stop, Everyone dies, Zyron said weakly. His crystal skin was almost completely dim now. Better we die helping than live as cowards. The Titan smashed into the Queen ship's outer defenses. The impact threw everyone to the floor. Sparks flew from broken computers, and the lights went out for a few seconds. When they came back on, Jake could see they had punched a hole through the bioship's outer shell. "Alex, you're up," Jake said into his communicator. Commander Alex Turner and 50 of his best soldiers were waiting in the ship's cargo bay. They had put on their heaviest armor and carried their most powerful weapons. Each soldier also wore a small crystal device that Lisa had made, connected to a Valari volunteer who had stayed on the other ships. "Remember, we need to find the Queen's core," Alex told his team. "It's probably deep inside this thing. Stay together and watch each other's backs." The soldiers jumped through the hole in the Queen ship's hull and found themselves inside something that looked more like the inside of a giant animal than a spaceship. The walls were soft and wet, and they pulsed like a heartbeat. Strange lights glowed from veins that ran along the ceiling. "This is disgusting," said Sergeant Mike Davis, one of Alex's oldest friends. "It's like we're inside something's stomach." They moved deeper into the bioship, following corridors that twisted and turned like blood vessels. Everything around them was alive and moving. Sometimes the walls would try to close in on them, and they had to blast their way through with their energy weapons. After an hour of walking, they reached a massive chamber at the center of the ship. In the middle of the room was something that made all the soldiers stop and stare. It was the Krex Queen, and she was enormous. The Queen was like a giant spider, but with the face of something much more intelligent. She was the size of a building, with hundreds of tentacles that moved constantly around her. Her eyes were huge and black, and when she looked at the humans, they could feel her hatred. Around the Queen, thousands of smaller Krex drones moved back and forth, all connected to her by thin tubes that pulsed with light. Alex realized that every Krex in the entire fleet was controlled from this room. So many little creatures, the Queen spoke, her voice filling their minds rather than their ears. "You came so far just to die with the Crystal People." "We came to stop you," Alex said, raising his weapon. The Queen laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "You cannot stop what has been for 1,000 years. We have eaten worlds before your species learned to use fire. We will eat worlds long after you are dust," maybe Alex said, "but not today." The battle in the Queen's chamber was the fiercest fight any of the humans had ever seen. The Krex drones attacked from all sides, their claws and acid weapons trying to overwhelm the soldiers. But the human weapons, powered by Valari energy, cut through the enemies like they were made of paper. Alex fought his way toward the Queen, dodging her massive tentacles as they tried to crush him. Mike Davis and 3 other soldiers covered him, shooting at any drone that got too close. The tubes. Lisa's voice came through Alex's radio. "You need to cut the tubes connecting her to the drones." Alex could see what she meant. Hundreds of glowing tubes ran from the Queen to different parts of the ship. These were how she controlled all the Krex across the entire fleet. "Everyone target the tubes," Alex shouted. The soldiers turned their weapons on the pulsing connections. Each time they cut one, dozens of Krex drones suddenly stopped moving and fell over. But the Queen had hundreds of these connections. She was fighting back hard. One of her tentacles caught Sergeant Davis and threw him against the wall. Alex heard his friend scream as the tentacle wrapped around him and squeezed. "Ow!" There was a cracking sound and Davis went limp. "Mike," Alex yelled, but his friend was gone. The Queen laughed again. "Your friend died for nothing. Even if you destroy this body, there are hundreds of other Queens across the galaxy. The Krex will never stop." But Alex wasn't listening anymore. Was thinking about all the people who had died to get him to this moment. A Captain Morrison, who had crashed his ship to get them inside. The 1,000 humans who had died in the first battle. The Valari who were dying right now to power their weapons. Alex pulled out the biggest explosive device he had brought. It was designed to destroy an entire building, and he had been saving it for this moment. "You want to know something about humans?" Alex said to the Queen as he armed the explosive. "We don't give up, ever." We threw the device right at the center of the tube connections and dove for cover behind a piece of the ship's structure. The explosion was massive. It destroyed not just the tubes, but a huge section of the Queen's chamber. The Queen screamed, a sound that the humans felt in their bones. All around the ship and all across the fleet, Krek's drone suddenly stopped moving. On the Titan's bridge, Sam Rodriguez watched his instruments in amazement. Captain Morrison, the Krek ships are all stopping? They're just floating in space? Jake, who was badly injured from the ship collision, managed to smile. Alex did it. He actually did it. All across the Kepler 442 system, Krek's bioships began to drift aimlessly. Without the Queen's control, the individual drones had no idea what to do. Some ships crashed into each other, others just shut down completely. But the victory had cost everything. The UES Titan was destroyed, along with Captain Morrison and most of his crew. Commander Turner and his soldiers were dead inside the Queen's ship. Half the human fleet was gone. Thousands of people would never see Earth again. On the planet's surface, the surviving Volari began to emerge from their underground shelters. Elder Xenar, the leader of their people, looked up at the sky where the human ships still flew. They came, he said to his people, tears of crystal falling from his eyes. When no one else would help us, they came, and they saved us. Dr. Lisa Grant, now the senior officer on one of the surviving human ships, established contact with Earth. The message would take months to reach home, but she wanted people to know what had happened here. Earth Command, this is Dr. Grant aboard. The EU's hope. The mission was successful. The Krek's threat has been eliminated from this system, but the cost was very high. We lost many good people here, including Captain Morrison and Commander Turner. She paused, looking out at the planet where the Volari were already beginning to rebuild their crystal cities. However, we have gained something important. We now have allies among the stars. The Volari have agreed to share their technology with us, and they have information about other species that need our help. It seems that humanity's work out here is just beginning. On Earth, Admiral Patricia Hayes received the message 6 months later. She read it 3 times before calling President Carter. Mr. President, they did it. Actually saved an entire alien species. What does this mean for us, Patricia? Means we're not alone anymore, sir. And it means the galaxy is full of people who need our help. We're going to need bigger ships and more soldiers. 5 years later, the UES Liberator, UES Guardian, and 20 other ships left Earth's orbit. Each ship carried both human crews and Volari partners. Their mission was to answer distress calls from across the galaxy, to help species that couldn't help themselves. In the captain's chair of the Liberator sat Captain Sarah Mitchell, one of the survivors from the Kepler 442 mission. Next to her stood Xenar, now serving as the ship's advisor on alien cultures. Captain, we're receiving a distress call from the Tau Ceti system, reported the communications officer. It's from a species called the Inari. They say something called the Void Hunters is attacking their worlds. Sarah looked at Xenar, who nodded sadly. The Void Hunters are as bad as the Kreks, maybe worse. Set course for Tau Ceti, Sarah ordered. It looks like we have work to do. As the human Volari fleet jumped to hyperspace, Tsar thought about Captain Morrison and Commander Turner and all the others who had died to make this moment possible. They had shown the galaxy that someone would always answer when people cried. Fourth, aliens had cried for help, and Earth had brought destruction to their enemies. But more than that, Earth had brought hope to a galaxy that had forgotten what it meant to help others.